The news about Starfield isn't where we want it to be just yet, but little things here and there do give us deeper looks into the game as a whole, and that is not a bad thing at all. Since E3 all the way back in the summer, we have gotten little to no news on Starfield, whether that be gameplay details or release date. With it seemingly coming out in the first half of 2023, you would imagine how confused we as fans are right now, with us not getting anything at the Game Awards up to now. But that's not why we are here today. We've already discussed the likelihood of when Starfield will get released. We are here to talk about the little details of the game that we have gotten, starting with Quest. And what is up guys, Inch from the Denmen here, and today I want to take a look at our next roundup of Constellation questions, talking about Starfield's Quest. If you are excited, make sure you hit that like button and comment what you want to see from Quest and Starfield. With that being said, we have a lot to go over, so get comfy, relax a little, and let's get right into the video. Our next look into Constellation questions gives us a deeper look into the quests we will be seeing around the many planets. Will Shen, the lead quest designer on Starfield, talks a little about this, so let's dive in. He first goes on to discuss random encounters we will be seeing in the game. Back in games like Skyrim, we saw this in abundance and really livened up the world to make it feel like it was still evolving around you. Think of all of the Dark Brotherhood contracts sent on you or Thalmor prisoner transfers. This is what can really make a game space feel alive, and Starfield has a chance to do it in a whole other level. From what we got back in E3 of last year, Starfield will have a ton of planets, all of which will be explorable from end to end. This is where it gets interesting because Shen describes these random encounters being designed not just in little things, but in entire locations. The example that was given was if you were to return to a certain area on a planet, there might be an entire outpost, as before there was only just one person to talk to. This changes things up a lot, because in previous games, you would potentially talk to one person and they would send you off on a quest to, let's say, find a piece of equipment, but they would be sending you to locations on the map that we've seen or are not procedurally generated to the extent that we will see. In Starfield, it works a little differently, as these locations will be entirely different, not just the quests themselves. Think of it like this. You will find an outpost somewhere on a planet and they will ask for you to go find someone on a different part of that planet. An entirely dynamic dungeon will then appear to you on a map marker and you will have to go there to complete your quest. From what it sounds like, this isn't entirely different from what we saw in something like Fallout 4, but this time it is done on a much larger scale. I'm not sure how I feel about this just yet, because to me, the raiding quests from Fallout 4 were on the weaker side of content in the game. Just from an outside looking in perspective, they are going with a more quantity over quality for random encounters in Starfield, but that is still left up for debate. It could also hold a lot of intrigue as well though, because random encounters could mean a lot of different things, not just the fetch quest type of things. There is still a lot we don't know about for random events, and we haven't played through any of it yet, so it might be a lot better than we all anticipate. It'll definitely be interesting to see how they handle this, but it is something to keep an eye on when the game finally launches. Next, we get a little into the main quest and we dive a little deeper into the lore surrounding Starfield. The topic of discussion is actually our home solar system and how we will be experiencing it. So we got confirmation that we will be returning to our solar system all the way back in E3 of last year, but now Shen tells us that it will be playing a much larger role than we all thought. Early on in the main quest, we will be returning to our home solar system, which they have labeled as the Old Neighborhood. To me, this brings up a lot of questions as to what has transpired to make us leave and go to the settled systems. Shen does state that we will be dealing with uncovering the secrets of what happened to Earth and even traveling to Mars. On Mars, you will find an early colony from when they just left Earth, which has been named Cydonia. We do see a little bit of it during the E3 showcase with a settlement in the Mars rover, but there are still many secrets to uncover as well. Earth is definitely intriguing because there is a whole planet to play around with and find the truth of the mysteries surrounding it. Just think of all of the opportunities, so hopefully it is just as good as we all expect it to be. We know we will be finding out early on in our playthroughs, so I am definitely excited to go back to the Old Neighborhood. Some of the biggest pieces of content in Bethesda games comes from their factions. Just think about all of the memorable moments in Skyrim or Fallout 4, and a lot of them will come from factions like the Dark Brotherhood or the Institute. Starfield is going to be no different, it looks like, with them being heavily involved within the story of the game. Factions are one of, if not the most important thing in a Bethesda game, so it is good to see that they are going deeper into this with them playing around with the RPG side to them. A lot of the bigger ones will be playing a role in the main quest and will be giving a kind of walkthrough of the settled systems. Think factions like Constellation and the United Colonies for now. Just a way to get familiar with the big players of Starfield and to involve yourself in the surrounding world. It was talked about that they want these faction stories to feel more personal, and the example that is given is of the Freestar Rangers with what is more important to them, justice or industry. We've never really seen them go too in-depth with how their factions are designed on such a level. I'm definitely interested to see where they take them with this type of concept because it's all about choices, and it appears like there will be a lot of them. Instead of being like Skyrim where you become the head of every faction, you will hold influence around it to sway it to one side or the other. This is definitely a good change of pace, seeing a story that is less about the chosen one, here to save everyone from a great disaster. It's more of just a person looking to find their way around the world. This just goes even further into the RPG side of the game because in theory you can make your character whoever you want to be. Think of all of the builds that you have made throughout the many playthroughs of Skyrim, and now they're upping it even further with all of the individual choices you will be able to make during faction quest lines. One thing that I'm not too sure about is that they will be separated for the most part during their respective storylines. I kinda like the idea that certain factions will be facing off against one another, whether that be the Freestar Collective in the United Colonies or some others out there. I feel there is definitely some potential out there for some entanglement between the many factions, so I hope they don't just throw it away entirely. I'm glad that factions are a big part of Starfield, so I hope they are done in a way that is enjoyable. Something that is looking to be quite unique are actually companions, and specifically how they will interact with quests. In Fallout 4, we saw a major overhaul to the companion system to make them more distinct from your normal NPCs. This was a great change that added things like likes and dislikes and a backstory to every companion to make them different from one another. In Starfield, they are taking it even further with ways for them to interact with certain NPCs to progress a quest. The example that was given was we would be challenged with getting past someone to progress the quest, and whether it be good or bad, your companion will attempt to help you out. This is an interesting concept because the way they would help would differ from companion to companion, so we will see even more diversity between all of them. I'm looking forward to seeing how it will play in game though, because Bethesda could have made it a small feature or something that could change how the quests play altogether, so there's definitely a lot of potential there. Our last talking point is something that we see a lot in other Bethesda games with how NPCs react to completing a quest. You actually see this a lot in Skyrim with guards commenting on certain events that have been completed, whether that be the assassination of the Emperor or becoming a werewolf. From what it sounds like though, Starfield will be taking it a step further because there will be different ways to complete quests. You will be able to determine the fates of a lot of different characters throughout the quests in Starfield, and the NPCs will react in different ways to those decisions. Even though this is something small, it will bring a lot of depth to the world of Starfield and bring you deeper into the space adventure. Starfield quests are something that we should all be looking forward to. A return to roots back to the more RPG side to Bethesda games gets me excited for Starfield and everything that is coming alongside it. Quests are something that I can really get excited for, and especially with all of these choices we'll be having to make will only make it that much better. Starfield is shaping up to be a game you will not want to miss out on, so make sure you stay tuned for all of the latest right here. But that is all from me now though guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment any videos you want to see in the future, and I'll see you all next time.